Good morning. This is Spirit Journey. I'm going to share some information, my feelings, my belief or understanding of some things. It's a heavy subject. I talked about it a couple of videos ago, about the sex trade industry. And I'm reminded again of the subject, of the horrors that happen to, in particular, children. The human trafficking and the exploitation upon children for using them for sex. And you primarily use them for sex to blackmail an adult. Yes. I was just listening to this woman again. Yeah, like when you watch a video, oftentimes the algorithms send you other videos of interview of the same person, but on somebody else's channel. And she's a European woman. We're actually about the same age. I'm a little older than her. And so I'm hearing her story a second time. This person who interviewed her went into a more in-depth. Like the first time I heard her on YouTube, she was on TEDx, I think, or TED Talks. It's some type of organization, and people of all ages discuss various topics. And so she shared her story of being trafficked at the age of 6. She's a white girl from Europe. So on the TEDx talk, it wasn't as detailed. But this one, all the in-between, the more details were more filled out. It was broken up into 4 parts. But the first one I saw was just one interview. This one is more in-depth. It was, it leaves you feel shaken. Very, very shaken. The evils of what's being done to little children. And when you're a young, when you're a black girl in America, at least through my perspective, I thought that if you were a white girl, a white person, that your life is happy and you have money. But this interview, it showed me, it exposed the lie. And I do this video, again, in the hopes of exposing the lies that are being perpetuated on all of us, all races. Because at one point when I started seeing whites in a different way, not so much to emulate or to, admire, but to see historically the evils that they've done upon blacks in the Americas. But now I'm seeing that there is a global evil being done upon people. And it's my attempt to expose the evil, to put it in perspective, and to help understand the harms that were done to me. then you start to see a pattern of behavior and attitudes. Then you say, oh, okay, now I understand what might be happening in such and such situation. You know what? People who are abused, what could happen? That there's jealousies that stem. Let's say both people are being violated, both children. What they do, the perpetrators, is to get them jealous of one another. Jealous. So what happens? The perpetrator is viewed as innocent or even your savior, and the other victim, like you, are hated, and they encourage infighting. They may even ask you to take away the life of that other person, and you do because you hate them. Because the warpness of the thinking, how they pit the children against each other. Now these were, she was 6 years old. And 6 and 9, and it's a psychological game that they play against each other, and your mind starts to fill in the blanks of distortions rather than trying to get out. Again, you're a little child and innocent. They play games that they make you feel like you're not worthy, you're bad, if you're bad, you're only a whore. They would tell that to a little girl, 6-year-old, 9-year-old, 11-year-old. They use children. Now this woman is in her 50s. And she was being sent to, it's a whole grooming process. And most likely her own mother was abused as a child and mentally scarred and is participating by giving consent for people to violate her daughter. The mother would actually take the girl and drive her to the facility for her to be victimized sexually and mentally, physically. And all hating upon each other because they start to project what they feel about their own selves and trauma, and they project that upon another victim. And it seems to perpetuate itself. So what got me to do this video, well, I didn't want to forget what I was going to say. So that's why I'm doing it now. So I don't mean to be offensive to anyone where I'm doing this video. But it's important for me emotionally to get it down, to get it down before I forget. Because I do these videos to enlighten others, to let them know that they're not alone, and for my own liberation, and hopefully their liberation as well. I start to see, like, I'm reading a book. It's a fictionalized book on slavery in America, Uncle Tom's Cabin. I've heard of the book for years, and there's an expression that this black person is an Uncle Tom, and it's used very pejorative. And I wanted to educate myself to find out who this Uncle Tom was. I know Uncle Tom was a slave. So why are you using taking a victim and vilifying the victim? And so I wanted to, I'm just beginning to read it. But I said to myself, why are they doing this? Are you going to call someone who is a victim in some concentration camp because of their fear, the victim, that you're going to call them a name? They want to stay alive, and the trauma is like they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. And it's something that they're not eager to participate in, but some people are being forced. So I just found that really interesting, that there's no difference. This is, again, it's a fictionalized book about an archetype, a type of slave of that time, a black man, older man. And what he has to do, these people had to survive. And they don't see any difference. There's really no difference. What I'm seeing now, like, to try to understand what was going on in these slavery days, these people were being brainwashed, traumatized in so many different fashions, No different than what's happening with these young people, children now, that are being trafficked, forced by their family, their neighbors, teachers, or they just were kidnapped and forced into this lifestyle for somebody else's perversion and greed. Now they say in the Americas, only, at least in the United States of America, only 2% of the white population own slaves. But those 2% own massive number of slaves. And for generation after generation, these people were indoctrinated to be abused and to fear. And white people were indoctrinated to be the abuser for generations. So fast forward, now you have these Europeans, and again, Europe, especially Western Europe, were the nations that heavily participated in the trafficking and the enslavement of the African people. So if this is the cream of the crop, cream of the cream, European society that is head of this enslavement of people, don't you think that what's happening in Europe, that is the same descendants? The same descendants are now, the top 2%, the top 1%, the wealthy, the super wealthy, and the super connected of Europe, Western Europe in particular, and doing horrific things. They learned how to do these tortures, I believe, for all these generations. So there's no difference, because see, we can look at it now with sex trafficking and children and the evils of this, But these same type of people, or maybe descendants, were the same ones that did horrific things in the transatlantic slave trade. See, there's really no difference. They've perfected the skill of torturing. And they do the ritual killings. So when you look at the Ku Klux Klan, how did the Ku Klux Klan come up with this type of stuff of harassment? This brutality, and to have their kids, because it's photographs of even young people, to watch someone being burnt alive, someone being hung, as if it's entertainment. I'm thinking this is mind control. This is also traumatizing the people who are witnessing this. Those white people in the South, I doubt all of them liked what they saw. To watch a life, someone screaming to death, it's traumatizing also those white people to make sure that they don't marry black people, whether male or female, to fear them. Because in America, it seems like the fear that these white people have against black people could be stemmed from they being traumatized at the lynching, the burning, the torturing of black people, male and female. And if they step out of line socially and go against the system, that they too will be killed. And that's what's just coming to me now as I speak. That's what's happening. So now you can go into certain areas where there's virtually no blacks. And then they'll tell you, my grandpa, if he sees me talking to you, would disapprove. Why? There's none of us there for you to disapprove or for any reason. But it makes sense that the descendants of these people teach their kids, indoctrinate their kids to stay away, to fear blacks, to fear the repercussions. And it's also why some blacks, most blacks I would say, tell their kids, hey, be careful because these white people could kill you. That's what's putting fear in tension. And this is especially revealed when you watch television. What do you see on television? You see black people being abused, and now you see black people abusing themselves with others. They're killing and shooting each other, lying, stealing from their own. So it's to reinforce the fears and to teach black people to not like other black people, and for black people to not be sensitive to other black people's needs. And I think it's that insensitivity that caused that young black girl about 2 months ago when I was, this man was groped me and asked the lady, and the man is right there acting crazy. I said, please call the cops. This man just did such and such to me. Please, I pleaded with her. And she just cut me off and said, why do you ask me to get involved? Why can't you just call yourself? With such venom. See that? Because we're being taught to dislike ourselves, to mistrust other black people, while the perpetrator, the person who is creating a social system of oppression, you trust. And you do anything to support the perpetrator's business. So you look at the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Now, again, I just started reading it, so I don't know all to the depth what happened. But what I've read so far was that it's a discussion now that they're going to sell this man who's called Uncle Tom. He's a slave who works in the house, and is going to be sent somewhere else to pay off a debt. That's all that I read up to. So that's a trauma there. This is all you know. This is the place that you lived all your life, and then now you're being sent away. And you're being sent away to a location that's known to be even more hostile against you, against black people. So history really hasn't changed. Maybe the type of enslavement has changed because we have technology. But the same brainwashing, getting victims to hate other victims, the perpetrator is making a lot of money, and to find out that the families of these perpetrators, get this, that they're being perpetrated also by their own families. See, for you to be a sicko and to tolerate this behavior, they have to make you insensitive to the victims. And so they teach you to be a criminal mind, a reprobate. So these kids are brought up and they perpetuate the crime. So now they're using this sex ring to manipulate world leaders, a whole numerous number of people to control. And they're high up. And it's a system. They do it to all of them, the same methods. And it goes on and on and on. And so the thing with Jeffrey Epstein, who allegedly committed suicide a year ago, who was a human trafficker of primarily underage girls, some American and some European, Eastern Europeans. And look how they're covering the case. His accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. You never see any pictures of her or any videos of her, any statement from her. They had a drawing of her, but nothing. It's sanitized the news. Why? Because she's up there, and she knows a lot of people, a lot of leaders, scientists, politicians, and they're covering their ass. This is modern day slavery. And the evils are just the evils. It's a selfish system. And why they need to control politicians. And why can't people just learn to control themselves? There was another thing that I wanted to say. Oh, I almost forgot. Another reason why I'm doing this video is because as I was listening to the lady's situation, it came to my memory. This happened a year ago, and I had a very bizarre dream. I shared this dream on my channel of this lady, and how it looked really weird. How it was set up. It was very artificial looking, the dream. If you ever done virtual reality game, you have the goggles on. When you're looking through a VR, when you look straight on, it kind of looks three-dimensional. But when you see it on an angle, you can see that it's not three-dimensional. It's actually very flat, and it looks artificial and fake. It was of, I saw a lady, and then I saw this tiger. I think it was a tiger. And she commanded me to have the lion eat me. And why I mention this story again, because I'm listening to the lady, the European lady, give her story. And plus where she's from. She was from Belgium. And the woman had that funny accent, the woman in my dream, very European looking woman. I just knew she had a very round face and kind of chubby. And I forget what she was wearing, but she looked very official, like a scientist. I'm wondering whether what the so-called dream that I had, was it actually a memory? Was I put in some type of experiment? I did a pendulum work on this, and it said it was a real person. It wasn't just a dream, it was a real being that presented itself there. But that's what I'm wondering now. Because I'm learning how to do what you call meditation. And I was conscious in the dream. It wasn't like a typical dream that you just follow along with this. I never experienced a dream like this. To see something that's two-dimensional, like a VR game. And maybe I was presented somewhere as a little child. And to put on these, because they have all different technologies. And they can have you look at something like a screen. And they're playing this out so I can see the lady and the image that they want me to see, the lion. Was I put into a program? Was I taken to a place? I know I was sexualized as a child, even parts of my childhood that I don't remember. Something happened. That dream didn't just come about. There was no reason for me to have a dream like that, but I did. The first and only time that I remember having a dream like that. And it explains a lot of why I reacted the way I did growing up. I think there's a lot of things going on that happened in my childhood and amongst relatives. You start to see the same pattern of behavior, personalities and the squabbling between siblings upon siblings, the jealousies. Yeah. So even though someone's getting abused, they're not liking you because they think you're getting more attention. Could you get that? Someone is jealous of you because you're being abused. And think that's okay. That at least you're getting attention. We have to wake up, people. We have to take back our humanity. They're taking away our humanity. And I'm also wondering, I did share before that I had I forget the term, it's like a premonition. See, when someone is being abused, that their psychic ability could sometimes be enhanced or developed. And so this happened. I had this premonition. I was in classroom, And then it's like in a daydream, I saw something in it, like a day. I would call it a daydream. It lasted just a few seconds. And maybe 6 seconds after I saw what I saw was done upon me. Exactly what I saw. See, I was traumatized as a child. And my psychic ability at that moment manifested. And again, I don't know why it manifested at that point. I wasn't doing anything. I was just standing. I never told, I don't think I told anybody about that. Yeah, and why the person did the thing to me, I don't know. Because it was sitting away from me. And they walked up and did what they did to me. So I'm trying to put the pieces together. That there was some type of traumatization of things I don't even remember. But your body remembers. And then the other dream that I had of being operated on by these people. There were about 3 or 4 people, and I knew that one of them was a woman. And you could hear talk amongst them. And the other thing, this screen appeared, this bright white screen appeared. And then I see this little figure dancing, because I said, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. I don't know why I was saying that. It is just a dream. I mean, I was dreaming at this point, I thought. I said, I know this can't be real. See, I can make this thing appear in front of my eyes. And then I saw the figure, little thing, stick figure dancing. Real tiny, looked like an 1.5 inches tall, a little tiny little thing. And then it went away. I think I woke up or something. And I had written this down. I don't have it anymore. I didn't want to be reminded of the things that happened to me in my past. But then my memory got cued from that thing that I wrote down. When I wrote it down, I didn't even remember that I wrote it down. That was what's so weird. In my new place, my place that I'm living now, I had taken out a journal and I was just skimming through it, and I'm seeing certain things that I didn't even remember that I wrote. I said, wow. So these things could actually, really be real. That they're taking all types of kids. Yeah, there's a network, all right. You could be black, white. They even had a thing about Asian people, from East Asia. And they primarily use the girls, but they also have boys being abused too. People, protect your children. Protect your children. Protect your children and stop the cycle of abuse. You can end it. These people are only doing this to get control. You have sinister people in high places, and they're using this sex trafficking to use it as blackmail, and some do witchcraft, human sacrifices to try to get power. So this is something satanic. So it could be a satanic system that's controlling our planet and pitting humans against humans. They have technologies and can pop images in your head when you're sleeping. Or maybe their memories coming out, but at least now they are technologies that they can make you hear things and see things. And they interviewed the scientists. You just go on YouTube and type in what they call the voice of God technology or Project Bluebeam. They can make you see things that aren't there. They can make you hear things. This is an evil world, and in using people, I'm so glad I'm doing this. They're using all types of people. There's no reason why for black and white people, all these things going on and on and on. They're doing this to cause division amongst us. They're torturing black people, primarily, I think, through the system of the cops, to traumatize that way. To get in prison, that's another way. Through gangs, that's another way. They're more direct and harsh with black people. And I was told by a YouTuber that it's harder to break a black person psychologically. They have to, it's more required to do upon us to traumatize us. And they do the same, they do trauma stuff to white people as well, to control the system, to get us fighting against each other. Let's start being aware, people. Black people, white people, yellow people, brown people, all people. We're being fooled, and the enemy is laughing at our faces. And you know what else with these people who traumatize? That the woman, the European lady who was using sex trafficking at the age of 6, she had to sleep with these politicians and all these people at that age. And she saw how afraid and immature these men were. These people probably were traumatized themselves. But the mindset, they pretend to be powerful. They hide behind their power. But they're cowards. And you have to point them out and laugh in their faces. Let's wake up, planet Earth. Let's stop abusing our children. Let's stop lying upon people, telling lies on people to get them in trouble or arrested. Let's stop abusing animals. Let's stop abusing the planet. Let's wake up. Thank you so much for listening. And we're all in this together. I thank you for listening. Peace and love and protection to the listener of this. We can do it together. Stop this insanity. Bye-bye.